Ladies and gentlemen of the world, especially of the African world, this is Professor Yalengi speaking to you from New York City. I am doing this video especially for the former president of South Africa, Thabo MBEKI. He gave an allocution, he gave a conference at the African School of Public and International Affairs in South Africa. I want to deal with the issue that he spoke on the DRC versus Rwanda. It is very important, as I write, that if Africa is going to train and educate future leaders, it must do so on the ground of truth, historical, geographical, political, economic, especially when dealing with a society built on lies like Rwanda. So, before coming back and telling you what are some of the evidence that we have, I would like to let you follow President Thabo MBEKI.
Democratic Republic of Congo. That conflict. I'll repeat myself what I've said publicly. That the Congo, like all of us, we inherited colonial boundaries. And when the colonialists drew up the boundaries of the Democratic Republic of Congo, they included in the eastern parts of the Congo populations that were Rwanda speaking. These are Congolese in terms of those colonial borders. But the problem for us and problem for the Congolese is that certainly even during the days of Mobutu, they did not want to recognize the Rwandese who were Congolese as Congolese. You even had a formation there in the Eastern Congo of a military group, a militia, which was called the Mai Mai. The Mai Mai whose purpose was to drive away these Rwandans back to Rwanda. And Mobutu was encouraging that. That problem persists to this day. As you know, the Congo, the DRC is a very big country. And one of the challenges since the return of democracy, which was there before, it persists, is the footprint of the government from Kinshasa is not necessarily strong everywhere in the country. So in the Kivus, this is part of the problem, in the Kivus in the Far East, that's why you have the M23. It's because the Rwandan people, the Banyamulenge in Eastern Congo, have for many decades felt this, that they don't have the protection of the government in Kinshasa. So they need to protect themselves. In addition, you've had this challenge of the people who committed genocide in Rwanda, and then they ran away into the Eastern Congo. So they are also there. Some of them involved in all sorts of schemes and naturally to try and overthrow the government in Rwanda. I'm saying that the first, my view, is the first part in terms of dealing with the crisis in the Eastern Congo is recognizes that the Banyamulenge are Congolese. The Rwandan-speaking section of the population of the Congo is Congolese, and therefore must be protected by the government of the Congo, like all the population of the Congo is entitled to protection by the government. That's a starting point. And then this issue has to be dealt with. Then what about the interests of Rwanda in the Eastern Congo, about the Rwandans? this group that committed the genocide, as well as these Rwandan-speaking people. How do you regulate that relationship? But I'm saying the principal responsibility falls on the government of the Congo to protect the Rwandan-speaking population of the Eastern Congo, of the Kivus. I think an understanding of those issues, why the coup d'etat in West Africa, why this commotion in the Congo, we must, fortunately we are.
In a world of uncertainty, New York City's children count on us.
You followed
Federation of Teachers,
you followed President MBEKI's part of his speech on the DRC and Rwanda and what is happening in Eastern Congo. So, ladies and gentlemen, I am Professor Yalengi. I am a historian. I am a scientist. I am somebody who has written books on Africa, on a genocide in the Congo, and as well as on Africa as a whole. I am a Sheikh Anta Diop scholar. Why? Because those are a few of my books. The blue one in the middle is the book Civilization or Barbarism by Sheikh Anta Diop. The original one he wrote in French is on the left, on my left, on your right, on your left also. It was in French. I translated that 400-page book from French into English, and it's been published in the United States so that the English people can read it. So I'm a Sheikh Anta Diop scholar, and I am also the first one to write a book on the genocide in the Congo. My book is on the right. The title of it is Genocide in the Congo, Zaire. At the time it hasn't changed the name yet. In the name of Bill Clinton and of the Paris Club and of the mining conglomerates, so it is. So, as a historian and a scientist, I have done research about Rwanda and about the history of Africa. Actually, I'm going to, while I'm doing this, I'm going to upload a slide presentation that has some of the information that I want to share with you. Okay? But what I want to say is I'm trying to upload this. I want to remind you that, ladies and gentlemen, everything that President MBEKI said on Rwanda, on the DRC, everything that he said is not correct. Historically, scientifically, geographically, it is not correct what President MBEKI said. So, number one, I'm going to begin with the truth about the history of Rwanda. Okay? Rwanda give me 1 second, please. Okay. Okay, let us see. Let's see if it is. Okay. I have a series of slides that I wanted to share with you. Okay, I'm uploading it now. Why do I say that everything that President MBEKI said is not correct? Number one, both the history that he talks about the so-called Banyamulenge in Eastern Republic of Congo, and the history of their coming into the Congo and the DRC is false. What President MBEKI is saying actually is a false history that has been written by the Rwandan Tutsis, Paul Kagame's people, when they moved in power. I was showing you my books. When they moved in power in the DRC, beginning with Rwanda in 1994, and then 1996, they moved to the DRC. Now, this, let me see if I can write that. This is, I wanted to show you a document that the Rwandan refugees in the 1950s, when there was a struggle in Rwanda between both the government of, it was between two groups of people, the Hutus and the Tutsis in the 1950s. Then there was a referendum that was decided to be held by the United Nations in order for the people of Rwanda to choose whether they want to be a democracy or they want to continue to be a kingdom where the Tutsis used to rule over the Hutus. But during the referendum, because the Hutus were the majority, so they won the referendum. So therefore, those Tutsis who were in Rwanda, who did not want to be ruled by the majority Hutus, President MBEKI, those Hutus, those Tutsis, some of them went to Uganda, some of them went to Zaire or to the Congo at the time, and some of them went to Tanzania. Now, these Tutsis who went to the Congo, the United Nations put them at three places. Listen carefully. At three places, they put them at one place called the Lemera, and another place called Mulenge, and another one called Katobo. That was around 1961, when those troubles were happening from the 59 until 61. So they gave them those three places, they put them in those three places, but the United Nations told them that they should never get involved in political activities in the Congo. They should not get involved in trying to become citizens of the Congo, that when Rwanda is back together with everybody who is supposed to be dealing with democracy in Rwanda, then these Rwandans will go back to their country, to Rwanda. So therefore, these people that President MBEKI is calling Banyamulenge, there's no group of people called Banyamulenge. Mulenge is a geographical location in the DRC, in Eastern Congo. There were three places where they put the Rwandan refugees: Mulenge, Lemera, and Katobo. Okay, so Mulenge, there's no people called Banyamulenge. The so-called Banyamulenge is a name that has been used since the 1970s, that the Tutsis in the Congo wanted to use that name. But there's no people called Banyamulenge. For instance, there's no language called Kinyamulenge. These Rwandan are Tutsis who came to the Congo as refugees. Many of them went to school in the Congo, such as Ruberwa, such as Kamere, such as many of them. Even the Rwandan ambassador who was in South Africa, who got Kabereya, Patrick Kabereya, who got him killed in South Africa. His name is Kagera. He went to school. He speaks Congolese Lingala. He speaks French. He went to school in the Congo as a refugee. Now, when I'll come back to this. So when President MBEKI is speaking about during the time of colonialism, President MBEKI in 1884 Berlin Conference, when it was held in Berlin and then in Brussels, what do you call today Rwanda? It was a small, tiny kingdom called Rwanda Urundi. So you, the people who are going to school over there at the African School for Public and International Affairs, you need to do research. You need to do colonial research. For instance, about the DRC, you have to do research not on the internet, because since Paul Kagame became president in 1995, they have engaged in trying to change the information about the geographic and the history of Eastern Congo. Even what their own people wrote, they want to change that so that people who read, who study, will not understand that the Rwandan, what they're talking about are lies. So, Rwanda Urundi was a small kingdom that, with what we call today Tanzania, made up the German East African colony of Germany. Remember, during that time was who? Bismarck, I think he was the Chancellor of Germany. So when they went to Berlin, President MBEKI and all of you researchers need to do research. So Rwanda Urundi, the whole Rwanda Urundi was a small kingdom. So there was no Rwanda as it is today. For President MBEKI to repeat the lies of the Rwandan Tutsis that part of Rwanda was in the Congo. There was none, President MBEKI, okay? Rwanda Urundi was a small kingdom, including the gigantic part that became Tanzania. That was an East African colony of Germany. In other words, they taught them to speak German. The money, the currency they used was German currency, whereas in Belgium, Congo, there was a different authority. It was Belgium actually was a place that was open to international visitors, American missionaries, British missionaries. Everybody went over there to do business and so forth and so forth. And you know what happened with King Leopold II going after rubber and killing about 15 million people. But Germany's colony was not, by the way, part of the Belgium Congo, President MBEKI. That's a lie that has been told you by the Rwandan Tutsis. So what I'm going to share with you, I'm going to share with you a book. By the way, let me do this first. Let me see. Okay. I wanted to read that, but that is that is included in this book. By the way, this is a map of the Democratic Republic of the Congo, a colonial map that was when Congo became Zaire. They put the name of Zaire. You can see the Zaire in parentheses, Republic Democratique du Congo. You have all different ethnic groups or tribes that inhabit the Congo. Nowhere you will find the name of either Hutus and Tutsis. And by the way, Mr. MBEKI, if you look at this map, you will see that the Hutus are not found anywhere on that map. Not only the Hutus or the Tutsis, they are not found on that map. Why? Because in the Democratic Republic of Congo, the society is organized in terms of what is called tribes or lingual groups. For every ethnic group, such as tribe, there's a language associated with it. For instance, the Baluba, there's a people called Baluba, okay? They speak the language called Chiluba or Kiluba, and they have a land that they've lived with from time immemorial. If you take, for instance, you want to talk about Bakongo, such as Bantandu, they speak the language called Kintandu, and there is a land attached to it. These are the people called the Bantandu. So if you talk about, for instance, Bayaka, these are people who speak the language called Kiyaka. They are associated to the land. You talk about, for instance, Bambala. They speak the language called Kimbala, and they are attached to a land that they've been living with from time memorial. Now, let's go to Rwanda. When you are saying, President MBEKI, that the Banyamulenge were a people that lived in the Congo, there's no, first of all, like I told you, Mulenge is a site where they put Rwandan refugees, but the United Nations put them there, told them not to get involved in politics. After things straighten up in the country, they will go back. Excuse me. So, in Rwanda, there are three groups of people, three groups. There are the Hutus, there are the Tutsis, and there are the Tua people. Now, all these three groups, by the way, Mr. MBEKI and everybody who's listening to me, who's following this, everybody in Rwanda speaks the language called Kinyarwanda. Kinyarwanda is a language spoken by the people of Rwanda. It is similar to the language spoken in Burundi today, or which they call Kirundi, which is a version of Kinyarwanda. Remember, it used to be one single kingdom, Rwanda, Urundi, during the time of when they were German colony. Okay, it used to be one group, one kingdom. And then in the 1950s and in 1939, when the Allies took away from Germany all the colonies that they had in Africa, they divided them among the powers, including part of it went to Belgium, to Belgium. Rwanda, Urundi went to Belgium. The part that became Tanzania went to England to administer these lands until they can become independent. Okay, so these Rwanda, Urundi includes what? Include the Hutu people, the Tutsi people, and the Tua people. President MBEKI, today in the DRC, there are no Hutus who are claiming that they used to be in the Congo prior to independence, that they are natives of the Congo. The Hutus are not claiming that. Only the Tutsis are claiming that, which is a lie. Okay, so again, if we're going to be African leaders, we need to base our knowledge on the truth, historical truth, and I'm giving you some of the historical truth that we know now. What can help you? Beside the map, where you do not find any Hutus or Tutsis, and by the way, that's the German East Africa. So that was, so going from the Indian Ocean all the way to the Great Lakes of Africa here, okay? So you have what you call German East Africa, include all this part that became Tanzania. And on this corner, you're going to have what was called Rwanda, Urundi. It was a small kingdom, Rwanda, Urundi. Rwanda, the Tutsis were small people, tiny people. They were not even more numerous than the Hutus. The Hutus were more numerous than them. So they could not have gone, have been part of the DRC. They could not, because all the Tutsis and all the Hutus were part of the East German East Africa colony, okay? Now, I want to share with you this book. This book, for anybody who wants to know about Rwanda, what kind of people are Rwandans? What do they say? What have they said about themselves? What is their culture? What kind of method they use? This is a book that is written both in French and English. Professor Yalengi Ngemi wrote this book. The title is Rwanda 1994 to 2024, 30 Years of Tutsi Lies. That's the English version. There's also a French version for those who speak French. Okay? Now, why this book is important as we're speaking about right now? Because everything that President MBEKI said about the history, about the Banyamulenge, who they are, about recognizing the Banyamulenge, about FDLR of Rwanda, and Rwanda is a lie. It is a lie. Why? Because Rwandan culture, so from 1994 until today, Rwandan government, the Tutsi government of Rwanda, has been saying nothing but lies, okay? Lies. I'm going to give you some instance. For instance, President MBEKI spoke about people who committed genocide in Rwanda who are now hiding in the DRC. So that's why Rwanda is sending its army there to go and try to find them. President MBEKI, the FDLR, or those who used to be in the military of the legitimate government of Rwanda when President Habyarimana was alive. Those people are no longer there. Many of them, the Rwandan army killed all of them. If there are few who are still there, James Kabarebe, who used to be the Minister of Defense of Rwanda, spoke or told one journalist say that group of FDLR that is in Kinshasa can never pose any problem, any threat to Rwanda. They cannot, because they are a tiny minority. And by the way, when the former president of Tanzania, President Kikwete, he told Paul Kagame that, look, you saying that the Congolese people have to dialogue with their own refugees, why don't you, Paul Kagame, dialogue also with the FDLR or the Int'l who you fought against, for you to reconcile, for you to bring them back to your country. Paul Kagame threatened to kill President Kikwete because of that. Why? Because Rwanda and Paul Kagame are not in the DRC for them to go after the FDLR or the Int'l or to protect the Tutsis who are in the Congo, who are Congolese. There are no Rwandan Tutsis who are citizens or natives of Congo. Again, these people are refugees who were there as refugees. And by the way, President MBEKI, listen to me very carefully. The genocide that took place in Rwanda, 1994-1995, that genocide, the person who actually triggered the genocide to take place was Paul Kagame. How did he trigger it? He triggered it by shooting down the plane that was bringing the legitimate president, the elected president of Rwanda back to Rwanda, President Habyarimana. President Habyarimana perished in that plane crash with the president of Burundi, President Ntaryamira. So again, President MBEKI, it's very important that you do research. It's very important, and anybody who wants to talk about what's happening in Congo, that you do research. There's a book written by a Canadian woman who Paul Kagame tried to assassinate. They tried to assassinate her in Canada. They tried to assassinate her in Europe when she went to do research. They tried to kill her. The title of the book is In Praise of Blood. In Praise of Blood. Any African young person who wants to know what happened in Rwanda, from 1990, when the Rwandan Tutsis who were in Uganda began to invade back their country, all the way until the time they fought the genocide in 1994-95, you will know what really happened in Rwanda when you read the book titled In Praise of Blood by Judy Rever, R-E-V-E-R. Get that book. Get my book, Rwanda 1994 to 2024, 30 Years of Tutsi Lies. This is my book about that genocide that President MBEKI said something that was false, that people who were involved in a genocide in Rwanda ran to the DRC, because Paul Kagame is the one who triggered genocide. Paul Kagame is somebody who needs to be arrested and judged for the crimes of genocide that he committed, not only on the Hutu people, but on his own people, and then on the Congolese people. Because since 1998, when Rwandan army invaded the DRC, until today, just like it just happened in Goma, Paul Kagame sent an entire army of more than 10,000 soldiers who just slaughtered these young Congolese soldiers who did not have any weapons. So he did not even try to take them as prisoners of war, but he massacred them, massacred the civilians. He killed everybody. And Rwandan Tutsis have been killing like this since 1998, to the point that today the numbers are like up to 15 million Congolese have perished in the Congo at the hands of Rwandan Tutsis. President MBEKI and everybody who's listening to me, remember that the DRC, the Congo, never provoked Rwanda. The Congo never provoked Rwanda. Okay? The Congo never provoked Rwanda. But Rwandans have been killing Congolese, innocent Congolese, since 1998, gang raping, mutilating, and making Congolese people become refugees in their own country. Every village, every city where this group now, the Rwandan army with so-called M23, the campaign they are doing right now in the Congo, every time they go to a city, the people have to run. They take whatever little they can, they get out, they become refugees in their own country. They start wandering all over the country. They don't know where to stay. Why? Because when these Tutsis come, both the army and the M23, again, remember, M23 is a group that was formed by Paul Kagame's army in Kigali. Patrick Karebeya, before he died in South Africa, he gave an interview to a French 24, French 24. When they asked him about the rebellion in the Congo, he said that they should not be going after those so-called rebels because there are no rebels in the Congo. These groups are formed in Kigali, in Rwanda. They are trained, they are given weapons, and they are sent to the DRC to go kill, rape, and maim, and commit genocide. Why? Because Rwanda and Uganda want to control the resources in Eastern Congo, not only the resources, but also the land. Okay? So, again, that's why we need to study history. We need to study history to find out that, as I told you, there have never been a Hutu who has proclaimed that they used to be in a Congo prior to, let's say, 1885, because they were part of the German East African colony of Germany, with today's Tanzania. If the Tutsi don't claim to be Congolese, definitely, if the Hutus don't claim to be Congolese, the Tutsis cannot claim to be Congolese. They cannot, because they have no land over there. They put them at Lemera, as I told you. It was because of the United Nations requested the Congo to give them a place of refuge until they can go back to their country again. So that's why I was sharing with you about my book, which I'm going to show you again. That book, Rwanda, 1994 to 2024, 30 years of Tutsi lies. Okay? Thank you, Clint Zemba and Sosa. Now, so when you get that book, you are going to discover that Rwandan Tutsis themselves speak about the fact that everything that has been happening, everything that Paul Kagame has been saying, that the governor of Rwanda has been saying, since they invaded Rwanda from Uganda, is a lie. Now, I'm going to give you just a brief outline of that book. What are we going to read in there? The first chapter, you read the introduction and many things that will be a revelation to you. You read in that chapter. The first chapter is titled "The Truth Behind the Rwanda Tragedy." It's a document written by a scholar, an American scholar of Ugandan origin, I believe, and he did research. He's going to tell you. So you are going to find out exactly what happened, what was happening during the time when Rwanda was a kingdom, when the Tutsis ruled the Hutus, the majority Hutus. The Tutsis are a minority, but when they ruled the majority Hutus, what did they do to them? You're going to find out. By the way, when you read that document, you're going to find out another lie. For instance, the man that everybody today calls a president of Uganda, Yoweri Museveni. The truth is that he is not a Ugandan native. He is a Rwandan Tutsi who went as a refugee. The Tutsis, when they went to Uganda, they had a plan. And that plan is outlined in that document, chapter 1 of this book. That's why it's important that you read it. In chapter 1, the Tutsis, when they went to Uganda, they had a plan. What was the plan? Just for you to write down so you can see me and hear me. The Tutsis, when they went to Uganda, they had a plan. When they were the refugees, they decided, they had a group of them. They decided that, look, since we are going to Uganda, we're going to do everything to take control of Uganda away from the Ugandan natives. After we take Uganda, when we take over in Uganda, then we're going to go back to Rwanda. We're going to take Rwanda back from Hutus, from the majority Hutus, because the Hutus are supposed to be our slaves. They cannot be over us. So that's what they swore. So what's the plan? They said, after we take back Rwanda, then we're going to go to the Congo. We're going to take the Congo. And then after that, we'll take Tanzania, because the Tutsis are still working to take over Tanzania away from the Tanzanians. So they said, after we do that, and President MBEKI, I want you to hear, because you are a Bantu like me. They said, after we take those Rwanda, and then we take Zaire, we take Tanzania, then we're going to go over throughout Africa, the Central Africa, and we're going to make all Bantus to become our slaves. We're going to rule over all Bantus. Okay, that's the plan of the Tutsis. It is in that document in chapter 1 of this book that you have in front of you, that you can get from Amazon. Rwanda, 1994 to 2024, 30 years of Tutsi lies. Now, that was the plan. So that's why when they went to Uganda, there was a Yoweri Museveni that you call Yoweri Museveni. He was born in the south, in a town called Butare, in the south of Rwanda. His real name is not Yoweri Museveni. His real name is Yoseri Tubuhaburua. Yoseri Tubuhaburua. Now look at it. Now all this, including President MBEKI and the African leaders, they call that man Yoweri Museveni. They don't know that this man has taken over somebody else's country that they are ruling. Now the Ugandans, the natives, have become like slaves of these Tutsis. So the few Tutsis who are there dominate the army and the political scene, everything. Now, nobody can speak. Everybody, any Ugandan native who tried to get up, they cut him off, they kill him. So that's what has happened in Uganda. You find that out also from that chapter 1. Okay? So, and then chapter 2 of this book, you are going to find out about the Rwandan Tutsi philosophers of what their culture is, which is called Ubwenge. The culture Ubwenge is a culture that every Tutsi lives by. From the time they are born, they are trained into this culture of Ubwenge. What is Ubwenge? Ubwenge is, you cannot define it with one word, but in essence, it's something that is called manipulative lying. Manipulative lying, they use it to conquer, to get power, to rule over people. So you're going to find out what the Rwandan philosophers themselves said about that. For instance, every Tutsi believes in what is called, in a language in the Kinyarwanda, ukuli kurazirua. Ukuli kurazirua, meaning the truth kills. For every Tutsi child is taught from the time of birth that you cannot speak truth. Everywhere you go, you talking to anybody, always tell them lies, because if you tell the truth, you're going to die. So they believe that that's part of the culture that you're going to learn when you study this book. And then chapter 3 is talking about one of the prince of a Tutsi prince by the name of Antoine Nyetera, a special soul because he was able to explain the culture of his people and to explain what kind of lies the Tutsis with Paul Kagame, they told even the international community. Okay, the story of so-called genocide that the Tutsis told the international community is a lie. It is false. So Antoine Nyetera, even though he is a Rwandan Tutsis, he was born again as a Christian, and he came to believe that the lie is a sin. So he was able to speak the truth about his country. So they tried to kill him. He had to run to Europe, where later on he died. He was in his 80s. Okay. Now, part 2 of that book, you're going to read about the testimony that was given by young soldiers who were Rwandan Tutsis, who had believed in what the elders told them when they were in Uganda. When they were in Uganda, Paul Kagame was in Uganda when they were recruiting young Tutsis for them to invade Rwanda from Uganda. They told these young men, look, we want to go back to Rwanda, we want to fight, we want to liberate our country so that we can have democracy, living in peace with everybody, with Hutus, with Tuas, because the country belongs to everybody. So these young men who were full of energy and hope, so they joined the army. But when they went to Rwanda, when they invaded Rwanda, they started telling them to kill everybody, including the Tutsis who had remained in Rwanda. So two officers that I give you their testimony, one of them is Abdul Ruzibiza, and the other one is Alois Ruyenji. They will tell you, you read the details of what these Rwandan Tutsis were doing, including how they were gang raping and then killing young ladies with machetes or with hoes, or cut them up, and they did that not only in Rwanda, all the way in DRC when they invaded DRC. Okay, all the way. So you read about what they did. Now, the first appendix in that book, Appendix 1, I printed an article written by a Rwandan Tutsi PhD, President MBEKI. If you do some research over there in South Africa, you'll know that Dr. David Imbara, Himbara, he actually taught, I think, statistics in one university in South Africa. Then Paul Kagame recruited him for him to go to Rwanda, work with him, and he did that twice. The second time, Dr. Imbara refused to falsify the numbers in terms of the economic output of Rwanda, because Paul Kagame wanted to pump them up, to make them big, make the number large and huge. Dr. Imbara told him, say, you cannot do that, because if you do that, sooner or later the world outside is going to find out, and then we will be a liar. Imbara, as a statistician, I cannot put in false information, put it out, then I'll be found as somebody who's not serious. So Paul Kagame tried to kill him. He had to run for his life. Right now, you listening to me, Dr. David Imbara is hiding in Canada, and the government of Canada is protecting him. Okay? Now, he wrote a small piece called Kagame's Rwanda is a serial lying nation. You hear the title? Kagame's Rwanda is a serial lying nation. In other words, they don't tell the truth. They do not tell the truth. So you'll be very much getting knowledge in there about what has been happening in Rwanda and the DRC. I just want to mention to you the last appendix of that book that you have there, Appendix 3. I reprint a document that Rwandan Tutsis in the DRC falsified and then send it to the United States of America so that Rwandan Tutsis can come to America with Congolese identity as Congolese. Why? Because this program began in 2001. In 2001, during the time of the Bush administration, Colin Powell was the Secretary of State. He came up with a plan in order to give Congolese refugees in Eastern Congo to come to America for them to get refugee status. But in 2001, what happened in the DRC was that the Rwandan Tutsis assassinated Laurent Desire Kabila. Right? Laurent Desire Kabila, the first one. When they assassinated him, the young man who was 29 years old, whose name people refer to as Joseph Kabila, that young man became president, was made president. When he was made president, as a Rwandan Tutsis, after they killed Laurent Desire Kabila, he called all the Tutsi intellectuals. So they put in a false document, false history that they gave to Americans so that the Americans can use it as a guideline to bring so-called Congolese over here in America as refugees. We found out that document. The young man this young man who was 29 years old, that people think is by the name of Joseph Kabila, I'm sure President MBEKI thinks also that Joseph Kabila is Congolese. Well, President MBEKI, sorry to disappoint you, but I wrote a book on the identity of that young man. His real name is not Joseph Kabila. His real name is Hippolyte Kanambe. I wrote this red book that talks about his identity. The title of the book is Joseph Kabila, quote unquote, Identity Thief, Imposter, and Rwandan Trojan Horse in Congo. Again, Joseph Kabila, quote unquote, Identity Thief, Imposter, and Rwandan Trojan Horse in the Congo. So now, President MBEKI, you can get this book so you know exactly who is Joseph Kabila, because he is not Congolese. He was infiltrated. He was an officer in the army of Paul Kagame that invaded the Congo under the leadership of his uncle James Kabarebe. Okay, but Rwandan Tutsis, knowing that one of these days Laurent Desire Kabila might turn against them, they infiltrated this young man, a Rwandan officer. In the midst of him, they told him that he had to introduce this young man as his son. So he introduced him as his son, that gave him the name. Why? If that was a sine qua non condition for Laurent Désiré Kabila to self-proclaim president of Congo. Where this young man come from? This young man, Hippolyte Kanambe, that people call Joseph Kabila, he was the son of Laurent Désiré Kabila's concubine. Okay, Laurent Désiré Kabila's concubine. In fact, his mother also came to the DRC during the invasion. Later on, after they killed Laurent Désiré Kabila, this young man, Hippolyte Kanambe, had to send his mother back, I think, to Tanzania or to Rwanda, because they used to live in Tanzania. So this is the young man that is Joseph Kabila. So that's why I wanted to know. So in 2001, when they took power, they falsified a document that they sent to the Americans in order for the United States to bring in Congolese refugees back, because Rwandan Tutsis now were in power in the DRC and in Rwanda. So they organized a way to take Rwandan refugees and send them over to the United States, saying that they are Congolese. So you know what they did, President MBEKI? Just like they lied to you, so that you can repeat these lies that you are repeating. In this document, they are saying, in fact, we have been working with some of the American government to help them to understand what's going on. What they did was they put in this document that, look, the so-called refugees in Eastern Congo are mostly people called Banyamulenge and Banyarwanda and Tutsis who have lived in Eastern Congo for many, many years, but the government of Congo doesn't want to recognize them, and they are the ones who are running. So what would they do? They would take Rwandan people in Rwanda and go put them in a place like so-called refugee camp. Then they'll bring in United Nations officers for refugees. They will come there to take their name and take their identities, then fly them to the United States. They flew tens of thousands of them over here in the United States. So that document I told you at the end of that book, my book, 30 Years of Tutsi Lies, the last document explains to you, shows you, gives you not only a copy of the original document that they used with the false information, that we explain to you what the false information is. Just like I was saying earlier, that in Congo, we do not have a native people called Banyamulenge, because it is not a tribe, it is not a language, it's not an ethnic group, because even in Rwanda, there is no Banyamulenge in Rwanda. Mulenge is a place where they put the refugees. But these Rwandan Tutsi have changed that to try to claim that they need to be in Eastern Congo. But they don't just come to live. They come to slaughter the Congolese people. Everywhere they have taken over in Eastern Congo, the Congolese natives have had to run away to go into refugee camp. Many of them have been slaughtered, have been killed, has been massacred, has been gang raped. That is what has been happening. So that's why I want to speak to President MBEKI and to you people or students or teachers at the African School of Public and International Affairs. If you are a student there, get this book that I just showed you, so you can study, so you can know the truth. And by the way, there's a young man, a young PhD in political science in France by the name of Charles Onana. He's a political scientist. He's been doing a lot of research about the issue in Eastern Congo in the Great Lakes region. He has put out a book now called Holocaust in Congo, the omerta of the international community. Again, if you are interested in knowing more about what is happening, in Eastern Congo, in the Great Lakes region, the history of Africa, get the book also by Charles Onana, O-N-A-N-A, Holocaust in the Congo. Okay, you get that. You get the book by Judy Rever, In Praise of Blood. I gave you the title, In Praise of Blood. So you need to know the truth about what's happening in Rwanda. Now, to find out who the Rwandan Tutsis are, what kind of lies they've been telling, get my book, 30 Years of Tutsi Lies, Rwanda, 1994 to 2024, 30 Years of Tutsi Lies. And then you can get this book here, this red book, for you to know who is so-called Joseph Kabila, that he is not a Congolese, he's a Rwandan Tutsis, he never became Congolese. In fact, he's a cold-blooded killer. He's a cold-blooded killer. He has killed thousands and tens of thousands of Congolese in the Congo. So he's one of those people. By the way, I don't know if you have heard of what is called mapping report. Mapping report. Mapping report is a report that is still lying, sleeping in the drawers of the United Nations Security Council. Mapping report was done when they investigated, the UN special investigators investigated how the genocide, how the Holocaust happened, how the killing happened throughout the Congo, beginning in Rwanda all the way to the DRC. The mapping report is still at the UN in drawers. So this guy, Hippolyte Kanambe, is also named in there. Paul Kagame, and many of Paul Kagame's officers are named there. Okay? So again, get those 3 books and get my book, and for you to read. President MBEKI is very, very, very important, President MBEKI. Very important that we in Africa, we have to train and educate our future leaders based on the truth, historical truth, historical information. If you want to find out about the truth information about colonial Congo, you can go to Belgium. You can go in the Museum of Belgium. You're going to find out information where you find out that there were no Tutsis, no Hutus in the DRC, no Tutsis or nobody else. Okay, except the Congolese people. We are like close to 450 tribes in the Congo, because it is that huge. And every group speaks their own language. So that's why we have like 4 national languages. We have Kikongo, we have Lingala, we have Kiswahili, then we have Chiluba or Kiluba. So, but there are no people in the Congo called Banyarwanda. Banyarwanda means the people of Rwanda. You cannot be a Munyarwanda and be a native of Congo, President MBEKI. Munyarwanda is the people of Rwanda. That's why Kinyarwanda is the language that the Rwandan people speak, both Hutus and Tutsis. They speak the same language. Now, not in the Congo. In the Congo, every ethnic group has their own language. The Mushi, they speak Kishi, the language Shi. That's one they speak. The Barega, they speak the language Kirega. The Baluba, they speak the language Chiluba. The Bangwandi, they speak the language called Kingbandi. That's how the Congo we are. So we do not have any Rwandan native in the Congo. That is why right now, President MBEKI was talking about what's going on right now. What is going on now, President MBEKI, is that the world is waking up to the fact that now Paul Kagame and the Rwandan Tutsis in the army of Rwanda want to try to really take over the DRC and control it, just like the Tutsis control Uganda today, with the man that you call Yoweri Museveni, whose real name is Yoseri Tubuhaburua, who has been in power since 1986. There's no native Ugandan who can rise up in Uganda to challenge him, they will kill him, they will slaughter him. Last election, there was a young man who came from England to try to challenge him. He put him in prison. Thank God that because he also had British citizenship, so that England complained and threatened. So that's why they let him go back to England. But the Tutsis control Uganda today. That's what they want to do in the Congo. Again, President MBEKI, now you know that Paul Kagame's Rwanda has become the major producer of minerals that are not found in Rwanda. Not one mine is found in Rwanda, such as coltan and cobalt. These mines, these minerals are not found in Uganda. How does Rwanda become the major producer? Because that's why they keep killing in the Congo. They kill the people. They take young men. They make them go work in those mines, and they're taking these resources every day. That's why they keep killing. But this time here, Paul Kagame has sent in an army of more than 10,000 people that is behind M23. M23, again, is not Congolese, ladies and gentlemen. M23, it's a group that was founded by Paul Kagame and the Rwandan Tutsis in Kigali. They gave them weapons. They're backing them up. Now they have even a so-called Congolese by the name of Nanga. So they created something else called AFC, so that they want to. So Rwanda is behind this group. They want to do like they did in 1997 with Laurent Desire Kabila, when they accompanied him all the way to Kinshasa so they can take over power. But unfortunately, the Rwandan army, Paul Kagame's army, and all these militias, because they are not rebels, because they are not Congolese, they are invaders who have invaded the Congo. Well, that's why they keep killing people. Again, right now, the Congolese people are upset. They wanted to remove Felix Chilombo Tshisekedi. They want to remove him because he has been working for the Rwandan Tutsis, for Rwanda, for Kigali, whereas at the same time he was to make Congolese people go to sleep and not react. Right now, many millions of Congolese have died. Thousands are being killed every day in Eastern Congo. But Felix Tshisekedi didn't do anything about it. So right now, people are rising up to get Felix to resign or to leave. So that is what I had to share with you today, ladies and gentlemen. Please share it with everybody that you know who speaks English, especially in Africa, South Africa, Mozambique, Botswana, Zimbabwe, Zambia, Tanzania, Kenya, all the African-speaking, English-speaking countries. Send it to Ghana, to West Africa, East Africa, North Africa, to Europe, to America. Share it with the people that you know who also speak English, so that they will know the truth as to what has been happening in Eastern Congo. This is Professor Yalengi again. I'm in New York City. I've been doing research. I've been writing. Now, those who want to contact me, my WhatsApp number is there. You see it there, Professor Yalengi in the United States, 01-929-800-0153. If you leave me a WhatsApp message, I'll call you back. If you want me to give a lecture, you can call me. We'll talk about it. You write to me, then I'll call you. We'll talk about it. But it is important that African students who are being trained to become leaders tomorrow, that they study the truth, the historical truth, the political truth, the geographical truth, the economic truth, and not accept lies as if you do not know how to read. If you know how to read and write, you can do research. I gave you about 4 books today that are legitimate, well researched. When you read them, you're going to find out what is in them. Okay? So that way you will know the truth. Africa needs the truth. Africa needs facts. Africa needs historical truth. Rwandan Tutsis are liars from the beginning, from their birth. Actually, I'm going to end up with something. Now, the Rwandan Tutsis, actually, they say sometimes something, there's a biblical perspective, biblical greatness. Now, in the Bible, there's a group of people called the people of Crete. Crete is a small island in the Mediterranean. Okay, in a small island, and these people from Crete, in fact, one lady actually wrote it, is because it was similar to the identity of Rwandan Tutsis. What kind of people are Rwandan Tutsis? So in the letter of the Apostle Paul to Titus, in the first chapter, he was talking about the people of Crete. How should Titus deal with the people of Crete? In the first chapter of the Epistle of Paul to Titus, in verse 12, the Apostle Paul writes, "One of themselves, even a prophet of their own, said, the Christians, people of Crete, Christians, or if you put it, the Rwandan Tutsis are always liars. Always liars. And that's what Rwandan Tutsis are. Always liars. Evil beasts. Evil beasts. In other words, they kill like there is no pity. They do not pity. They kill like cold-blooded killers. They will chop babies, chop women, chop elders. They kill people. It does. It's incredible how these Rwandan Tutsis kill. Okay, they chop babies in Eastern Congo. They have taken babies, put them in one of the mortar, and started pounding the babies. Ruberwa, who's now in Kinshasa, one of those Rwandan Tutsis, evil beasts, during the 1998, 97, 98 rebellion, this guy took a group of Congolese women. They dug a hole and buried them alive, buried Congolese women alive. Ruberwa did that. Okay? So they are always liars, evil beasts, slow bellies. Slow bellies. They love to eat, but they don't like to work. That's why they always use weapons to kill and to steal. They don't like to work, but they like to eat. They like to drink. So that's one of the way to describe Rwandan Tutsis. Ladies and gentlemen, President MBEKI, I thank you for listening to me. I pray that you will do the research. You'll get those books that we just outlined here. And again, my number is there. Anybody who wants to contact me can contact me through WhatsApp. Then I'll call them. I'll write to them if they write me. So we want to know that Africa, Pan-Africanism, Africa identity has to be based on truth. If Africans cannot respect each other's lives, if Africans can go around slaughtering other Africans, then those who slaughter those other Africans don't deserve to live. They don't deserve to live. Because the crimes that the Rwandan Tutsis have committed in the DRC, the dying, the killing, the raping, the gang raping, and all the crimes they have committed, no African can accept it. No African can even tolerate it. I've been talking about this. I've written about it. Today I spoke to reply, to answer President Thabo Mbeki, that we'll be able to not only teach the truth, but do research to know the truth, and so that the people, the future African leaders will know that you have to know the truth in order for you to be able to teach reality based on historical truth, geographical truth, political truth, economical truth, and everything that upholds the African humanity and the African essence. Thank you very much for listening to me. Please keep on studying and keep on learning, because that's what will help us to celebrate Africa and to liberate Africa out of the hands of these tyrannies, the tyranny of these murderers, criminals, and so forth. Okay? Peace and blessing.